Willkommen zurück. Wie geht es dir? Du riechst so gut. Don't worry, I'm not going to do this in German. I couldn't. Welcome back. Review time. I know I say this a lot about albums, but I have wanted to talk about this album since pretty much starting this channel. And I feel like now is the right time, for whatever reason. Rammstein, Zeit.
In Dunkelheit schleicht heran.
I have a few brief stories about this album that I will get into before actually diving into the songs. When the previous album came out, after a long period of hiatus from Rammstein, I wasn't blown away by the album, and to this day it's still not really one of my favourites, the untitled one. I feel like the singles are incredibly strong, and then basically everything that isn't a single isn't really that memorable. However, when Zeit came out, I couldn't have felt more different about it. Before the album was released, I don't know if you knew this happened, but there was a cinema experience just the day before the album was officially released, where you could go to the cinema and hear the album in full with like visual stuff going on and like some of the music videos and stuff. It was a really cool experience. And I think because of that, this album stands out to me, not just in Rammstein's discography, but in all albums throughout my life. I've never had that experience before, where it's like this exclusive cinema experience that, like I said, most people didn't really seem to even know that was going on, but I very much did. This album was released on the 29th of April 2022. It had 5 singles, being Zeit,
Bitte bleib stehen,
Zick Zack,
Zick Zack, schneid es ab.
Dicke Titten, Angst, and Adieu.
Adieu, goodbye, auf Wiedersehen.
If I was to go into this album with no context, with no knowledge of which songs were singles, which songs had music videos, and you asked me to choose 5 of these songs that would be singles, I don't think I would choose these songs. Not to say that I think these are bad, but what I'm saying is that the whole album is so consistent that maybe I'd choose half of these songs, but then the other half would be deep cuts, you know? This album is so incredibly consistent, unlike the untitled, self-titled, whatever, album. Very front-loaded album, that one, and this one is consistent all the way through. And so the professional ratings seem to agree with me about that. The lowest rating, as you can see here, is 7.5 out of 10, which is pretty decent, but still, in my opinion, quite low for this album. I really like this album, you may already be able to tell. And some accolades that it got: Loudwire US, Metal Hammer UK, and Revolver basically across the board said this is one of the best albums of this year already, which I completely agree with. Also, as you can see from these charts, the album did pretty well, like all over the place, largely in Europe, but even in Japan it was on the number 96. Like this, it got everywhere, this album. I didn't even know Japanese people knew Rammstein existed. The reception was very, very good, let's say. And I think that, from my perspective, with time, pun slightly intended, it's only gotten better since its release in the last, 3 years or whatever. Time has flown by since then for me, but this album, every time I listen to it, I'm amazed still. And I think it will continue to do that for years to come. So one last little factoid before I get into the album. The artwork, this, was photographed by Bryan Adams.
Everything I do it for you.
What?
Yes, that Bryan Adams. Strange world, isn't it? Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the review. Armee Der Tristen.
Komm zu uns und reih dich ein. Hand in Hand, nie mehr allein.
In that cinema experience, when this song started, I was very excited, obviously, because, you know, new Rammstein. It didn't blow me away immediately. This was very much a grower, this song. Probably one of my favourite songs on the album. If they ever made a synthwave song, this is it. I love the rhythm and everything. It's a really good warm-up to everything that will follow on this album. I think it's perfect intro track. I couldn't have chosen a better one myself. And I love the electronicness of it all. This album's very synth-heavy, which of course works for me. I feel like Rammstein is at their best when Flake is doing his synth stuff all over the place. It really adds flavour to any Rammstein song. And that's kind of what I felt was a bit lacking in the self-titled or untitled album. The synths weren't really used in the same way, and like it's really layered in here. Yeah, so when I did see this in the cinema, which is a weird thing to say about a Rammstein album, when the song finished, like there was a round of applause from the audience. I guess everyone there was quite happy with what they heard, myself included. But again, I wasn't blown away. This album, I thought it was great the very first time I heard it. I had no complaints really, but as time has gone on, it's only gotten better. This song it continues to get better. Others not so much, but this one in particular. And I think it's because the song in itself is great, obviously, but it's because I know that the point of this song is that it's the first song on this album which I really, really like. So, of course, it's always going to get me excited. There's a lot of songs that do that. The atmosphere in this song, I think, is setting up the rest of the album really well. And a lot of this album, maybe we'll get into it as we go on through the album, but is really, it's like heavy but also quite soft and like rounded off edges for this album a lot, which usually I would say is a downgrade, but however they did it, they really knocked it out of the park. Zeit.
Manches sollte, manches nicht. Wir sehen doch Zeit. Bitte bleib stehen, bleib stehen.
So, again, I have a little story about this song. I was there during the premiere on YouTube of this music video being released. I was literally in the pub with my phone like this, with my headphones on, just sitting there waiting, and with hundreds, if not thousands of other people. Again, with this one I wasn't blown away either. Considering this is the title track and it takes like 2 minutes before it actually does anything, I think it's quite brave of them, especially for this to be the first thing that any of us would have heard before the album came out. Very brave. I'm less so, but I do know Rammstein fans who just are not interested in mellow Rammstein songs. Ohne dich, for example, or Mutter. Those songs, for some people, really don't do anything, and this kind of falls into that. Again, with time, this song just became better and better. Yes, it's not heavy, it's not exciting, and it is a bit of a skipper for me if I'm in the gym. But the lyrics and the music video in particular, over time, and because of the time, what was going on in my life at the time when this song came out, it was very relevant and very, very powerful. And it's honestly a struggle for me to watch this music video without it like overwhelming me and bringing tears to my eyes. It's so powerful. You know, music is meant to make you feel things, right? And this song really it gets me right in the feels. So it works in that sense. Is it my favorite song on the album? No, definitely not. But is it fantastic? Yes, it is. It just, in its time and place, you know? Like I said, I'm never going to listen to this in the gym. I will actively skip this song. It's just not going to go with whatever I'm doing, you know? Maybe it was a smart decision. I feel like everything that Rammstein does is so meticulously planned out. I'm sure that was the case with releasing this as the first example of the new album. I think most Rammstein fans are metalheads, right? They like heavy music. And this is not particularly heavy, but it is quite Rammstein-y. So if you go in with whatever expectations you have, and then you're met with this, and then you hear the other songs that are actually heavier, then maybe that makes them seem heavier, you know? And I think what I was saying about Armee Der Tristen being a really good intro song, I think this would probably be the only other one that you could use as an intro, and it would work quite well. But yeah, I do really like this song. It's one of the ones I've listened to the least, just because what I've already mentioned, but I do think it's fantastic. I think the music video is one of their best, and actually a lot of the music videos off this album are some of the best of their entire career. Schwartz.
ist wunderschön. Denn immer wenn ich einsam bin, zieht es mich.
There's something about Schwartz that makes me think of the band Him. Like the structure and the melody and the chorus and the piano, like very specifically piano, like not a crazy weird techno synth sound. Like this is like grand piano sounding piano, which, you know, Him uses quite a lot, so maybe that's it. I feel like actually this album gets some of my least favourite songs out of the way right at the beginning, and then once I'm about a third of the way through I can just let it play and I will not skip any of it for the most part. But Schwartz is a bit of a skipper if I'm in the gym. Again, that's not to say I don't like it. I'm a dumb meathead, right? And I like heavy music. And a lot of the time when I'm listening to music, it is in the gym. So I prefer it when the music is smashing me over the head, which Rammstein don't do so much anymore. Yeah, the part at around 3 minutes. You cannot listen to that and tell me that doesn't sound like Him. You could swap out Lindemann's voice for Vidavalo and it would just fit straight away. And that's never, back in the day, I never imagined that Rammstein would ever sound anything like Him. So it's really interesting, the evolution of Rammstein and all the different things they've incorporated. Schwartz is not one of my favourite songs. I do like it a lot. There's none of this album that I dislike. Let's move on to one song that I really, really do like, which is Giftig. So the first few songs on the album are fairly laid back, nothing terribly like techno exciting, rah. And then Giftig is like, okay, we've got that out of our systems now, here's some techno as soon as it starts. And I know I say this about a lot of music when it really hits me in the right way, but it's a little bit Prodigy-ish, this intro. One of the most catchy songs on this album, I swear. This is what I was saying before about if I was to choose a single of, you know, the songs that are presented to me, Giftig is probably one of the ones that I would have chosen as being like one of the lead singles. Because it's so catchy and like fun and heavy. The previous songs haven't been exactly fun per se. They're very good, they're very dramatic. There's a lot of drama on this album overall, but Giftig I feel is the first one that's actually fun, like exciting fun, would be really fun live as well, I think. I really, really like Giftig. My favourite so far, I think. Yeah, this is kind of evoking a little bit of Mutter. The guitar riffing in it is sort of it's putting the image of Feuer frei in my head, for example. I'm not saying the song sounds similar, but the vibe of the song, like the music video for Feuer frei, at least the bits that include Rammstein, I could see that matching this song. But yeah, really, really like Giftig. I don't really have much to say about it other than I just think it's really, really good. And definitely not a skipper in the gym. This is one that will get me pumped every time. Zick Zack.
Deine Brüste sind zu klein, 2 Pfund Silikon. Zick Zack, schneid es ab. Messertupfer voll Narkose, 7 Kilo.
Okay, Zick Zack. I did mention this when I did my Rammstein music video ranking video. I did say that when I first saw this video, I did not know what to think of it. It's so incredibly ridiculous. I like when Rammstein go ridiculous. I like that they're not afraid to try basically anything. They can be really super dramatic and melodramatic and sad, but also, you know, heavy and dark and funny, hilariously funny in this music video, in this song.
Alles ganz weg, sowieso.
It's actually a topic that I can get behind. You know, it's talking about how people are so obsessed with their appearance and everything, particularly these days. Yeah, so on a kind of moral level, I can get behind Zick Zack. But I also think it's a really cool song. I probably would have chosen this as a single, and I know it was. So there's some overlap with what I would have chosen and what they actually chose. I think it's great. Yeah, again, in this song you have a really good piano melody and synth noise from Flake. As I've said before with Rammstein, if you take Flake out, there's a large chunk of Rammstein sound missing. This song really exemplifies how important he is. It's like most of the hook of the song in a way, in the melody. It's so good, it's so simple but effective. And I think that's the key with Rammstein's music overall, it's simple yet effective. And if you can add in some humor, even better. Okay. I had seen the track listing before the album came out because I was so eagerly anticipating this. Okay, let's check out these song names, and I saw one called "Okay." I'm like, okay. And then in the cinema, when the voice goes "Ohne Kondon," obviously there was me and some other people in the audience that understand enough German to realize what was being said. And I think it dawned on me immediately, and probably these other people, because I just heard chuckling from the audience, where it's going, "Oh, ne kondon," and I'm like, oh, of course that's what it means. Another really, really catchy chorus, incredibly simple, literally 2 words, but such a catchy chorus. I love "Oh, ne kondon." I think we're about halfway through the album now, and I think what can be said is there's a lot of different emotions going on in this album. You know, the first few tracks are kind of somber and dour, and then you get to like the next 3 songs, and they're all quite silly and upbeat and fun, and I like that. I think that was the problem that I had with the Untitled album, is that there wasn't really that. It didn't really seem like it knew what it wanted to be, that album. It's like, we're Rammstein, we're back after all this time, and here's some songs, I guess, is kind of how it felt like to me. And this album came around because the tour was cut short because of the Big C. And so they all of a sudden were like, well, okay, let's do something, let's just record an album. So a lot of these songs were quite spontaneous. In a way you can tell, in some ways. But in other ways, it shows how when your schedule is messed up, and there's nothing you can do about it, you've got to improvise, and this album does feel quite improvised. I'd say improvised rather than rushed, because this doesn't feel rushed to me at all. I like the different angles they go at songwriting from in this album. I might have chosen this as a single as well. I think it's quite strong, but I also think it's on the edge of being inappropriate to some people, you know, so they probably wouldn't have done that, but I would have just kind of because of that. Meine Tränen.
Ich leb noch immer bei Mama. Jetzt schon. Ein Mann weint nur, wenn seine Mutter stirbt. Der Tod ist stark.
So with Meine Tränen, we're kind of going back to the more laid-back, somber songs like we had at the beginning of the album, which makes, honestly, a welcome return. I'm okay with it. I like the somberness on this album. It doesn't bring me down. It's like a warm feeling it gives me for some reason. So Meine Tränen, it's a welcome return to that sound, but I will say it's not one of my favourite songs on the album. I think probably Meine Tränen and Schwartz are probably my 2 least favourite songs. But that said, I don't dislike either of them. I think they're all fantastic. Meine Tränen kind of reminds me of Rosenrot, the album. It's got a similar vibe to that, I think. A lot of people don't like Rosenrot. I've re-evaluated that album over the years, and I don't think it's as bad as people say. I don't think it's even as bad as I thought it was back in the day. It does have some good stuff on there, and Meine Tränen would fit in Rosenrot, I think. That probably sounds like a diss, or like I'm being trying just desperately to be nice about it, but I do like that album. I do think Meine Tränen is a good song. There's just so many other songs on this album that I think are stronger. But yeah, really nice atmosphere. And again, really nice piano stuff from Flake. Again, he's, in my opinion, the unsung hero of Rammstein that doesn't get the recognition he deserves. And he's all over this album, and I think that's why I like it so much. Okay. Angst.
Der schwarze Mann, wird dich holen. Und die Furcht wächst in die Nacht.
Angst, from the moment I heard it. I forget if I heard the song first or watched the music video first. If it came out before the album, then I would have heard the song and the video simultaneously. From the first second, I was like, ooh, this is interesting. Even just the song name made me curious, because I'm like, this is called Angst, this is probably going to be something pretty dark, and it is, but it's also a lot of fun. One of the simplest riffs they've ever written. Just perfect. It's so perfect, and so it's like ear candy, this album, and this song specifically. This is the song that stands out to me as my favourite on the album, I'll be honest. I love Angst. I've never gotten sick of it. I've never once skipped it. It's probably, honestly, in my top 10 Rammstein songs of all time. And the music video too. Oh, masterpiece. I feel like Angst is like a really good summary of the album overall, because it has moments of dourness, but also really fun, chunky guitar, real driving pace and everything, really big chorus. There's nothing about Angst that I don't like, not 1 second. This is how much I like Angst. Phenomenal song. Put it on my gravestone. He really liked Angst. Dicke Titten.
Ich hätte gerne eine Frau. Sie muss nicht schön sein. Sie muss.
When I first read that track list before hearing the album, I read the name and I'm like, really? We're going there? Just straight up Dicke Titten? Because, you know, Rammstein have a lot of implied stuff in their songs and a lot of metaphor, and sometimes somewhat more blatant messaging.
You've got a pussy. I have a dick.
But Dicke Titten, I very, very quickly got over that and was like, of course, it's just Rammstein having fun. Let them have fun. It put a smile on my face. What am I complaining about, you know? This is so stupid, but great fun. I do really like the music video as well. You couldn't have had a different music video to this. It's perfect. And I love the German, like, what's the word? Oompa band. I love the German Oompa band thing going on in it. Like, the whole thing is like, look, let's be as German as we possibly can be. And I quite like that, because why not? You are incredibly German, just embrace it. But it's a really uplifting song. And of course it should be, because it's about, you know, uplifting things. It's one of Rammstein's happier songs, I think. There's a lot of contrast on this album. There's a lot of seriousness on this album, but also really fun, almost juvenile songs and topics and stuff. You know, you compare Dicke Titten to Schwartz, for example. Two completely different ends of the spectrum for Rammstein. All on the same album. All, you know, 20 minutes apart or something. It's crazy. Lügen.
Barfuß am Strand lang gehen, in den Sternenhimmel sehen.
Lügen has probably the prettiest intro of any Rammstein song. It sounds magical, which is not... It's not exactly Rammstein's thing, is being like pretty and angelic. Like, it sounds like a harp. Maybe it is a harp, I don't know. I don't think it's a guitar. And I don't think it's a sample. I don't know what the hell it is, but it sounds lovely. I'm not a big fan of post-processing on vocals when it's, you know, it happens a lot today, more than we realize. But when it's really obvious and, you know, computery voice, auto-tune, that kind of thing, I really don't enjoy that. Hearing Till Lindemann's voice being manipulated in that way is quite interesting. Because he's already proven over the decades that he doesn't need any auto-tune or anything like that. He's an amazing singer live, he always has been. He can hold a bloody note. To hear his voice gradually become this like robotic mess is really interesting, and something I never predicted I'd hear on a Rammstein album until this happened.
Ich muss mich wirklich eilen, die Wahrheit kommt doch ans Licht.
This is just my interpretation of the song, because it's talking about Lügen, lies, right? So it seems that his voice is becoming corrupt because of his own bullshit, basically, which is quite a powerful, thought-provoking aspect of the song. You know, we hear people's lies just as words, right? And sometimes it's hard to tell if someone's lying, because that's the nature of lying. It's like his voice is losing the ability to fake the truth. So it's revealing itself as becoming corrupt and breaking down, and it's almost like he's drowning under his own lies. Maybe I'm overanalyzing it, maybe it's just me, but that's kind of how I've always interpreted the song, and if I'm correct, then I think it's wonderful. Compulsive liars. They will lie and lie until they're blue in the face. Even when you say to their face, I know you're lying. I'm seeing through your bullshit. Stop lying. And they continue to do it. It's incredibly frustrating, but some people are just like that, and that's kind of what this sounds like to me. It sounds like someone... The mask is off. Everyone's aware of the facade of the bullshit that they've been spewing, but they keep doing it, and this is what it should sound like if they lost the ability to just talk normally when they're lying. I don't know, maybe I'm just overanalyzing this too much, I don't know. I think the song is wonderful though. I went with a couple of friends to this cinema thing. And one friend that I went with, he said, as soon as we left the cinema, he said this was his favourite song immediately. So, Esco, this song will always remind me of you, just so you know. On to the last song, Adieu.
Sogar die Sonne wird verglühen. Adieu, goodbye, auf Wiedersehen.
The first time I heard the album, this song really upset me, because it's called Adieu, goodbye, auf Wiedersehen, etc. In my mind, implying like this is our last ever song, this is our last ever album, goodbye to our fans, you know. I didn't want to hear that. I liked it immediately, I always liked it, but it was potentially depressing if what I was reading into the song was actually what was happening. The very first time, I will say this, the first time I heard it, I'm like, hang on a minute. This is a Marilyn Manson riff. And when you put the two together, and it's very obviously the same riff, and that song came out a few years before this song. Maybe it's a coincidence, but I think it's unlikely that all six of them never listened to this Marilyn Manson album then. You know, they're all music professionals, they should know what's going on around them, which is very noticeable. Obviously the rest of the song around the riff isn't similar at all. Yeah, the last 40 seconds or so is the perfect ending to this album. You know, because the song is called Adieu. Either way, like, goodbye, this is the end of the album now. Nicely layered and textured, this song, as is the whole album. I think it's really good. I think it's the same with Armee Der Tristen being the perfect intro. This is... You couldn't have chosen a different song for the outro, really, could you? This is like the best outro song of Rammstein's career, I think. In what other way could you have ended this album better than a song literally called Adieu, Goodbye, Auf Wiedersehen? And so that's the album. Zeit only gets better with Zeit, somehow. And it was recorded over the course of like a few months. It wasn't a long process, this album. Spontaneity can sometimes create the best results. I think that was the case with Korn's second album, Life is Peachy. That's my favourite album of theirs for many, many reasons, but that one was kind of rushed together. And same with this one. And sometimes that can, when you don't overthink things, sometimes that creates the best art, I find. And so yeah, I think, honestly, there's, what's there, 7 Rammstein albums? This is up there as one of my favourites. I think my 3 favourite Rammstein albums are Sehnsucht, Liebe ist für alle da, and this. It's really hard for me to choose between those 3. The reason for this one is because this one is so good, and it has no right being this good at this point in their career. They're like 60 now. They should be way past their prime, but they're not somehow. They still keep releasing incredible music, and I keep going back to it. The self-titled or untitled, whatever, I sometimes go back to, but honestly not that often. I'll listen to the singles and basically none of the rest of the songs, whereas this, every time I start with Armee Der Tristen, and then 40 minutes or so later I'm at Adieu, and I'm a very happy boy. I don't ever get sick of any of these songs. Okay, like I said, there are a couple of skippers if I'm in the gym, but that's circumstantial. If I'm, I don't know, traveling or something, I'll listen to the whole thing. I think it's phenomenal, but what am I going to give it though? Can I give it a 10? Is this 10 worthy? I think I'm going to give it a 10, because there's nothing I'd change, honestly. There's no song that I skipped because I dislike it. I think the track listing is superb, by the way. The order of every song, perfect. Everything's laid out just right. And it's so consistent all the way through. Mwah, chef's kiss. I love this album so much. If you can't tell. So yeah, that's enough rambling from me, I think. This album is phenomenal. Let me know your thoughts on this album. I'd be very curious to hear what other Rammstein fans feel about their latest album. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you're new here, then welcome. If you're already subscribed, then thank you for being here. It's nice to have you around. But I've still not thought of how to end videos yet. So, I'm just going to say, go away!